and welcome back. Today I'm going to take you step by step through the first part of my Stewmac Dreadnought guitar build. While I've built several electric guitars that I'm very proud of, and repaired that Gibson classical guitar, this is my first complete build of an acoustic. I decided to go with Stewmac mainly because they're well known for their clear and concise instructions and have great support. I have a lot of good things to say about Stewmac, but this video isn't sponsored by them. These are my genuine opinions, and I've also heard great things about Blues Creek guitar, so if you're interested, make sure to check them out as well. I'll leave both in the description. And now, on to the build. In the instructions, Stewmac recommends you place the guitar on a flat surface with a piece of cardboard under it. We begin by dry clamping the sides to the neck and tail blocks. Be sure you've drawn an accurate center line on both your blocks so you can line up the seams precisely. It doesn't all quite sit right at this point, which is why Stewmac recommends placing something heavy on top of the sides to weigh them down. You could use a board with bricks on top, but I just used this large piece of maple I had lying around. Now that we have some consistent downward force on the sides, they're much easier to line up. When I'm satisfied that the seams are lined up with the center line of the tail block, I begin the gluing. I made a curved caul using a piece of wood and a layer of auto body filler. That helps to apply pressure evenly against the curved sides. I flip the guitar over now and put on more clamps. You should use at least 4. By the way, these are far from the perfect clamps to use. Cam clamps would have been a much better choice. Having said that, the spring clamps do a nice job of holding things in place temporarily, and the small C-clamps worked fine. I dry clamped the neck block and made sure everything was lined up. Then it was time to apply the glue and clamp some more. You really can't have too many clamps. I didn't show this in the video, but a key part of this process is putting the guitar in some kind of a mold to keep the sides in the correct shape. There are a lot of molds you can buy online, but Stewmac supplies 2 cardboard inserts in the kit that can be glued together with spacer blocks in between them. The idea is you put the cardboard in the guitar and pull the waist of the guitar in with a clamp. The waist clamp can be cut from a single sheet of plywood, but I made mine from 3 straight boards. Be sure to follow the instructions carefully when building and installing the waist clamp, as failure to do so could easily crack the sides. With the waist clamp in place, it was time to install the kerfing. I had a whole bunch of these little spring clamps, and I decided I wanted to use them along with my clothespins. The clothespins I bought, however, didn't apply as much pressure as the spring clamps, so I alternated them to try to keep the pressure as consistent as possible. All in all, I think it worked pretty well. When you install the kerfing, it's critically important to leave a small amount above the sides. Stewmac recommends a 32nd of an inch. The reason for this is we're actually going to sand them to a very slight angle. The top and back of a guitar are not perfectly flat. Since we can't attach a curved top to a flat edge, we need to sand the matching radius onto the kerfing. Before radiusing the kerfing, I need to mark around the top of the sides with a fabric pencil. You could also use chalk. The purpose of this is to let us know when our sandpaper touches the sides. If the line starts disappearing, stop sanding, as you don't want to remove any of that material. To make the sanding stick, I attached a hinge to 2 flat boards. I used a digital angle meter. When the meter said my board was at 1.5 degrees, I glued another piece of wood to the side to hold it in place. Using the sanding stick, I worked my way around the guitar, doing my best to keep the angled part of the stick on the part of the guitar opposite where I was sanding. I kept a constant eye on the white line and stopped sanding as soon as I saw it start to disappear. I should also mention I bolted the waist clamp to the table. That helped keep the guitar from moving during this process. Next, it was time to install the rosette. In case you don't know what a rosette is, it's an inlay around the sound hole. An expensive guitar will have an intricate rosette, and a cheap guitar might have a sticker that looks like a rosette. There are special tools you can use to cut the slots for the rosette, but this kit came with them routed already. I spread the glue liberally inside the channels and used the butt of my chisel to set the inlays in place. I covered the work in plastic to keep from gluing my caul to the guitar, and then clamped everything down. Now that the glue is dry, it's time for my favorite part. One of the most satisfying things in woodworking has to be sanding the excess to reveal a beautiful inlay. Stewmac includes full-size plans for the top and back bracing. I used a punch to poke through the plans and into the wood at the corner of where each brace lies. After this, I was left to complete the world's most confusing game of connect the dots. I don't know why this confused me so much, but for some reason I ended up connecting several of them incorrectly and had to erase and redo them when I realized my error. I don't know if anyone else has done this. It's probably just me. The first braces we're going to install are the X braces. They're the ones that travel across most of the top and give the guitar exceptional strength. Some of the other braces will be tucking under the X braces, so we need to make room for those by filing those junctions at a 45-degree angle. Before gluing the braces, I placed the top on cardboard with a flat board underneath for strength. Now, a mistake I made when gluing the X braces was that I applied the glue to the top. I probably should have applied the glue to the braces instead. That way I could have kept the glue off of those areas where we filed those 45-degree angles before. Because of that, I had to carefully remove some of that glue with a chisel later to allow me to tuck those other braces underneath. Speaking of mistakes with glue, I thought it would be a good idea to use these long pieces of wood as cauls. While they did do a good job of spreading the clamping pressure, they also blocked my access to much of the top, preventing me from cleaning up a lot of the glue squeeze out like I usually would. After allowing the braces to dry for a full 24 hours, I glued the bridge plate in. See how it tucks under the X braces? I made this little matching caul and covered it with tape. I always do that so I don't accidentally glue it to the workpiece. After that, it was more braces and more clamping. So if you like clamps, you won't want to miss this part. The more I learn about lutherie, the more it seems like some kind of witchcraft. Lots of people with decades of knowledge and tradition and very deeply founded beliefs about how certain things should be done. Brace shaping seems to me to be the most mysterious of that entire dark art. There are a million ways to do it, and everyone has their own deeply held opinion. Everyone except me, I guess. I just followed the instructions in the kit. Maybe in a few years I'll be some kind of junior warlock in the art of tap tuning. But as for now, I'm still learning. For those of you that know more than I, feel free to leave a comment below and let me know how you approach brace shaping. When I was satisfied with the position of the top, I clamped it in place and began marking the overhang of the X braces and the large shoulder brace. Using those marks, I file notches into the side of the guitar, test fitting as I go. Not all designs call for this, but it's a good idea as it strengthens the guitar and makes it more resistant to warping. Before the top goes on, I need to cut away the part of the sides covering our neck pocket. I used a large file to get close to the pocket before switching to a smaller file to clean things up. The very last thing I do before installing the top is check that both sides of the guitar are square. I use a shim to push the neck block into alignment, and when I'm sure that everything is square, carefully turn the guitar over. Those notches we cut earlier make it really easy to line up the top. I did a dry run with my clamps before adding any glue, and I strongly suggest you do the same. After my dry run, I put pieces of tape where I intend to put the clamps. That'll help me move quickly after the glue goes on. After triple checking everything one more time, it's time for the glue. In my last video, I made a point of saying you should use hide glue because of its tendency to break along the glue line. But I have it on good authority now from Jerry over at Rosa String Works that Titebond is just fine to use and can be removed without destroying the surrounding wood. By the way, if you haven't seen his channel, go check him out. I'll leave a link in the description. The man is a wealth of knowledge and experience. Whatever glue you decide to use, you want to spread it evenly over the neck block, tail block, and kerfing. Finally, on goes the top. You want to be as efficient as possible with your clamping as the glue begins to set fairly quickly. I work my way around the guitar, clamping on opposite sides. This time my spool clamps worked well since I added a layer of cork to keep them from slipping. After all the clamps are in place, I leave it for at least 24 hours to dry. And that brings us to where we are right now. This is going to be a multi-part series, and I'll probably have the next one up in a month or so. In the meantime, I have other guitar projects I'll be working on, so keep your eye out for those as well. Thank you to everyone, especially my recent subscribers, and be sure to leave me a comment below. I love hearing from you guys and sharing the knowledge down in the comments. Alright, have a great day.